Merab and Umar got into a heated exchange at the UFC 311 press conference, and I think that their beef runs a lot deeper than it may appear on the surface. Yesterday, on the Full Send podcast, prior to the press conference, Umar made some comments questioning Merab's Georgian heritage and even claiming that he himself is more Georgian than Merab. He essentially said Merab doesn't represent the country with any respect or honor, and he even doubled down during last night's press conference on these exact things. Now, it's a really touchy subject that nobody's talking about because there's lingering tension that exists between Russia and Georgia. And for a Russian, or at least someone representing Russia, in Umar Nurmagomedov to say this about a Georgian, I think it's pretty disrespectful and potentially even on the side of racist because there is still lingering tensions between the nations, and Russians don't have much of a liking to the Georgian people. Now, during today's video, we're going to react to some key clips from both the press conference and the Full Send podcast. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit more and inform the people on the Russia and Georgian tensions, the situation as a whole. Now, first things first, I want to get to the clip from the press conference where they go back and forth, and then we'll look at what happened prior to the press conference where there was the Full Send podcast. Let's listen in to Merab first and foremost when he was questioned about Umar's claims of being more Georgian than him.
He's not Georgian. He can't even represent Dagestan. He represents Russia. Umar, good luck Saturday night. We gotta find out.
You know, it's a big thing to say because there's also been tensions at one point between Russia and Dagestan, but we'll get to all of that as the video persists. Let's play this next clip.
Why you live in America?
This is another question from you. Because I came here to make my dream come true.
You have to go
be
back.
UFC champion.
You have to go back to Georgia, live there, make their life better around like people in Georgia, and do.
In essence, what Umar is saying can be taken as a positive. Like, yo, Merab, go to Georgia, make their lives better. But Merab does live in America, and I guess for Umar Nurmagomedov, that's not necessarily a positive thing. He should be representing and living in his home nation. Now, it's a bit hypocritical of Umar, who we know does training camps towards the end of his camp, at the least, usually in America, and plenty of guys from Dagestan train at AKA. So for him to make it like he doesn't need the American gyms at all either, and he's solely training, living, and fighting out of Dagestan is painting a false narrative. Sure, most of his training is done there, but he does specific camps leading up to fights in the States. Let's keep listening.
Do like this, build their gym, be with your people.
I represent.
I'm living in Dagestan, in my village, Manavkala.
That's
So he definitely lives in his village for sure, all year round, right? It's a true thing, and I'm not questioning that. But when we listen to Umar discuss training and fighting and camps and living, he mentioned sacrifice as a key thing. Wouldn't moving from your homeland to pursue the dream be the sacrifice that some will need, like a Merab? Not everybody is born into the Nurmagomedov family where you have access to great fighting minds like once was Abdullah Nurmagomedov, now is Habib Nurmagomedov, and the whole crew out in Dagestan. Georgia has great wrestling, but MMA gyms in that country relatively unspoken of. Let's listen to this clip.
We always prepare here.
Is it different when you like leave Dagestan to come train to the United States? How do you like it here?
You know, we have to do this. It's not about like or not like. If you want to be champion, you have to sacrifice. And we always came to US before fight like 6 or 7 weeks.
So 6 or 7 weeks before fights, he's training in America. Now, I understand, yes, he's still living in Dagestan, but he has higher level training partners that also live in Dagestan as opposed to what Merab can get in Georgia. So because Merab chooses to live in America to optimally train MMA, now you're better than him? Now you have a superiority complex over him? I think this is unfair for sure. And it's a biased comparison from Umar Nurmagomedov's Dagestan privilege. Now, I'm not talking about Dagestan privilege of getting blessed the title shot, which a lot of people would say he was, but I actually like Umar. He's got a great style. Regardless of that, he has the privilege of the Nurmagomedov name, the Nurmagomedov family. His name is not Merab Dvalishvili. He doesn't come from Georgia. He was birthed into a place that excels in combat sports training. And he has plenty of opportunities there to get high-level looks. And yes, he can live in Dagestan. He can train for the most part in Dagestan, but still he says, we have to sacrifice. We come to America, last 6, 7 weeks, 7, 8 weeks of our training camp. So he's still coming to America to train and fight. Why is it so much worse when Merab does it? Why is Merab the one getting trashed for doing it? I don't understand how that's fair. That I disagree with Umar completely. I think that's a disgrace. Now, this next one, this gets rough, man. He's extremely disrespectful. Now, leading up to this podcast, Merab had called Umar disrespectful, but I never felt as though he had really shown extreme disrespect. But this podcast, this is disrespect. Let's listen some more.
To the respect to Merab and they will men's. A lot of guys don't care about Merab and they don't think he's a man, you know. And even me, I think I'm the more Georgian and a man more than him.
Did you hear what he just said? I'm the more Georgian. I'm more the man than him. That's kind of a crazy statement to make as somebody representing Russia, because the tension still exists there. The tension a lot of people don't know about. And you might be thinking, oh, what was this, 100 years ago? Dog, there was war going on in 2008, right? Between Russia and Georgia. Russia falsely accused Georgia of committing a genocide and then infiltrated the country. There's tensions that still are there. There's no diplomacy between the nations today. It's kind of crazy that he's saying this. I thought that was wild. I thought that was uncalled for. I thought that was outlandish. I don't think we should make it about race or about culture or about ethnicity here. I think he's crossed the line. Genuinely, I do. Now, I want to play more clips because, Umar says, some more things about it after questioning Merab's manhood. Let's listen some more.
If we will look at how he follow Georgian traditional, how he follow like his country traditional. Okay, he represent his country with tattoo and with black papaja. And what about else? What about life outside the doors? What he doing?
So you think you're probably a better role model?
Anybody better than him?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Anybody's better than Merab as a role model. That's a wild take. I was surprised to hear him say that. Merab's such a bad guy, and you'll hear why Umar thinks so. He disagrees with some of the lifestyle choices Merab's made, like, I don't know, the videos he's posted on social media.
If you watch two other videos where he did with some women's, like what he did with some, like he think it's funny, he do with bets, with alcohol, and
so he's pretty much referring to, I think it was Eileen Perez where he's smacking her butt. And then there's also maybe he's talking about drinking or placing bets. And obviously, Muslim people, specifically the Dagestan Muslims, are strongly against all those things. I'd assume all Muslims. If you're Muslim, you can let me know in the chat. But I still don't think you say he's a bad role model for all. I mean, Merab has turned his life around, living this dream. And now he's getting absolutely trashed. Just because he doesn't like the antics of Merab doesn't mean you can claim that you're more Georgian than him, especially when you choose to represent Russia. I don't think that's fair at all. Not at all. I want to show you Merab joining the show and his reaction to hearing what Umar had said about him. Obviously, we see a press conference reaction, but I don't know. This had more of, I I don't know, a homey feel, right? Because it was a direct question with no crowd involvement, no yelling on the mic, just a simple conversation.
This is what he was saying.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's okay. He's gonna get slapped for that. So Umar said, "I'm not Georgian,
No, he said
He
like
said
he
he's more Georgian than you, and
Ye-
he represents Georgian values better than you.
Yeah.
bro." He represents nothing. He can't represent Dagestan. He's not Russian. He's not Georgian. He can't represent nothing.
Merab firing back with some fire too. When you think about this, right? Russia, many, many, many years ago, conquered Chechnya and Dagestan. Long time ago, 1800s type of shit. But there's still prejudice or racism, depending on what you want to use as the verb, or the term, I should say, that exists between typical Slavic Russians and people from the Caucasus Mountains, right? And Georgia is Caucasus Mountains, right? Dagestan, Caucasus Mountains. So it's interesting, right, that Umar is so pro-Russian in saying these derogatory things towards someone from, the Caucasus Mountains that in essence shares the bloodline. At one point, Georgia was part of Russia too, many, many years ago. This is turning into a history lesson, but I think it's relevant to the situation. For him to say things like, I represent Georgia better than you, you're not a real Georgian, as somebody representing Russia, I just think those are really testy claims. Like, it's no joke what's gone down over there. The tensions are still high because of Transcaucasia, right? Where Georgia is what separates the Middle East from Russia. And if Russia then conquers that territory, obviously, they're living more lavishly, you can say, to say it more smooth without making it too political. Because I'm not trying to make this too political, right? There was at one time this Russia-Georgia alliance, but long, long time ago. This is 1700s. Things have changed, right? Russia went to war with Georgia, falsely accusing them of aggression and genocide here, right? And still to this present day, Russia is occupying 20% of Georgian territory. I guess in essence, how I would imagine it is wouldn't, as someone from Dagestan, from the Caucasus Mountains, wouldn't you see a brotherhood towards Merab in some sense? But I guess not, because Umar has chosen to go towards, his home country of Russia, even though they have disdain for people from Dagestan in certain senses. Now, this doesn't mean everybody, right? This just means in a certain context, it exists. I just thought that these comments were extremely out of line. I would even say extremely insensitive. And I'm not a very sensitive guy. If you follow the channel, you know that. But the way Umar is saying these things, making it about ethnicity, making it country versus country, making it, I guess, a racial undertone, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think that Umar Nurmagomedov is speaking from a stance of bias, okay, from privilege, that he grew up into a fighting family. Now, so I know some people are going to hate when I say privilege. Bro, you sounded like you're on the far left. That's not what I mean from that sense of it. I'm just talking in general, right? He does have the privilege over what Merab had in Georgia, without a doubt. A Nurmagomedov name carries a lot of weight. Abdullah Nurmagomedov and the family is massive. Him being a cousin of Habib is huge. You don't get that if you're Merab living in Georgia. He has to move to America. He has to train with the Sarah Longo gym, and he has to meet Aljamain Sterling to find his success. He doesn't have his cousin at that high level. He doesn't have his cousin's friends at that high level, his uncle at that high level, where they can just put it all together with ease and snap the fingers into place. So sure, Umar can sit on his high horse and say, I'm representing Dagestan. I live there. I trained there. But himself, he said, you have to make sacrifice. And that's exactly what Merab did. Georgia doesn't have the high level MMA. He's got to come to America. Don't belittle the man for making the sacrifice. Just because you didn't have to make it doesn't mean your way is the only right way. Very interesting, very intense, very deep. I think this is something that wasn't spoken in depth about. I didn't see many people say anything about the claims, but bro, I don't like that from Umar. I think this personally is crossing on a line when it's country versus country like this, with tensions still existing. Even though the Dagestan Russian is Umar Nurmagomedov, he still is a part of Russia. And obviously the tensions are high between Russia and Georgia, still exist. There's still a disdain, I guess, between some in the countries, between the governments. Doesn't mean all the people, doesn't mean everybody walking. But I was reading on some subreddits and I was looking and I was seeing that people from different regions around the Caucasus Mountains expressed that they were discriminated against when they went to mainland Russia. But that's all hearsay, right? Everybody's experience is different, but still something worth at the least taking into account. And I just thought this was so interesting how Umar is going after Merab's culture, after Merab's home country, and saying that, no, he doesn't represent it well. I represent it better than him. I'm a Russian representative, and I represent Georgia better. Very strange. Don't like that. I don't think many Georgians like it either. Had to have a video done on it because I think that this video runs deeper than a traditional press conference reaction. I thought about doing the typical presser reaction, but I said, man, there's more to the 311 press conference than what you see on the surface level. And I think I had to dig in deep with, I don't know, a little more of an expansive breakdown to everything. I will make a couple quick notes from the actual UFC 311 press conference. Jamal Hill is hated by the Pereira fans. The boos were crazy. On the other side, Yuri Prohashka is a gem of a guy, shaving his head and flying out a cancer patient to the fight who's a big fan of him, and also shaving his head, and then Dana White joining in on the donation of $50,000. I said shaving his head twice, but you knew exactly what I meant. It's almost 4 a.m, guys. I've been doing a lot of content. Islam and Arman was chill. No questions about the arm and staph infection, which I was disappointed about. But I'm used to being disappointed with UFC press conferences because they are literally vanilla questions, rinse and repeat. I think that the media is given like a don't ask these type of questions list, and they just got to go super vanilla because it was nothing special. Sarukian did seem low energy at the presser, though. Questionable. Those antibiotics giving him trouble? Those antibiotics gassing them out? Very interesting. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know what you thought of today's video in the comments. I appreciate you guys all for watching. Much love to the people. W's in the comments if you got nothing to say. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe it up. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.